In the inside, where? Where? From where all your thoughts are emerging. From where all the understanding and doubts are arising. No. From where wakefulness arises. Where you sink into sleep. From where the dream expanse arises. That is the source. You are always involved in the thought process and you pursue them. The seeker of truth and the knower will not pursue the thoughts. He will look for the source of thoughts. The source of thoughts. And when he reaches the source, you will find it's a beautiful expanse. You know, we have some pilgrim centers, temples, etc. at the place from where rivers have their origin. That is how we have Gangotri, Badrinath, Kedarnath, etc. You go there. The river is, after all, not very huge, maybe half a kilometer wide in some places. I saw once Brahmaputra in Dibrugarh. I think about 9 miles wide it was in Dibrugarh. Such a river, when you go to the trace the origin, you will find it's a very small flow, rivulet. But the moment you go there, you will feel something entirely different from the river. A huge mountain with amazing peaks. And all around you will find the endless sky in its full clarity. You are going to find out the origin of the river. What you find is a great expanse. Normally people are given to pursuing their thoughts. They get involved in the whole process. And a number of emotions well forth in their mind. There is conflict, there is tension, there is confusion. Altogether it is all tormenting. But the other people, they are looking into the very source of everything. They are not so much after the thoughts, but they are after the very source. Then what happens? As you go to the river origin, you find a huge expanse, mountain peaks, etc. Here also they find Swasmin sada kriyedati nandati swayam. Swasmin, in oneself, oneself, that is within. Sada, always, kriyedati nandati swayam. He is sporting there, looking into the mind and find out how many thoughts crop up. From where? From nowhere. From what? From nothing. So it is a zero. From the zero, all the infinite thoughts are coming up. So he is looking at it with a lot of wonder. It is really sportful. Nirantara ananda rasena triptaha. He is delighted, contented. He is rejoicing at Nirantara Ananda, flawless, continuous and incessant blissfulness. Na khidhyate no vishayaif pramodhate, na sajjate, na abhivirajyate cha, swasmin sada nandadi kridadi swayam, swasmin sada kridadi nandadi swayam, Nirantara ananda rasena triptaha. All this I have explained in order to reinforce in your mind the idea about the very source of everything. That source is within your body. My dear viewers, take this message, understand it, declare it, discuss it, explain it to the others. Our scriptures are wonderful. Ours is not a religion. It is, on the other hand, a way of life, in which the scriptures and the scriptural truths certainly have a place. But more important is the role of reason. See how, in terms of reason, Pippalayana is explaining to the king, to the emperor Nimi. Let us go to the next verse. Naidan mano vishadi vaguda chakshuratma pranendriyani cha yathanalamarchishaswaha shabdo bibodhaga nishedhataya atmamulam arthoktamaha yadrude na nishedha siddhi. Every one of you may wonder, Swamiji is speaking so vociferously, eloquently, in a manner that can never be assailed or disproved about the self. But is it possible that such a great source is within the body? The body is limited. I would like to tell you, you tell me, is there any growth from outside to inside? Or all forms of growth are from inside to outside? You tell me very clearly. Is there any answer? Anything that grows, it grows from inside. It never grows from outside. All of us are eating food. The food goes into the stomach. The stomach and the alimentary canal, it digests the whole thing, converts it into blood. And then the growth takes place from inside. Every time it is like that. So the whole source of everything is right inside, not outside. The world also has grown from something inward to it. Naitan mano vishati vaguda chakshuratma. Now, if you want to approach the soul, the source of everything, naitan mano vishati, the mind will not be able to reach it. What is the mind after all? It is an offshoot of this Atma. Just like the flames of the fire, that those flames are coming from a source below. In the same manner, thoughts and emotions, understanding, doubts, enquiries, etc., all of them are offshoots and expressions from this very source. So, the mind will not be able to penetrate it. Naitan mano vishati. It cannot be entered by the mind. Vaguda chakshuratma. Nor by the word, nor by the eyes and the other organs, nor by the ego. Pranendriyani, nor by the life forces, the pranas. Indriyani, the senses. Yathanalamarchishaswaha. What does it mean? You know, the fire is ignited. It starts glowing, it starts blazing. And when it blazes forth, a number of sparks come out. Can the sparks reach the blaze? Because they are coming out, issuing forth. The issuing forth spark cannot take you inside the fire. Similarly, the thought is an outward expression, so to say, of the inward self. So the mind will not be able to do anything. So far as the senses are concerned, they only have an outward going capacity. My eyes can see only objects in front of it. Even when I take an object very close to the eye, I will not be able to see it. There is a least distance for distinct vision for the eyes. As long as senses are outgoing, how can they perceive the inmost self? So, no organ, physical or even mental or intellectual, will be able to accomplish the mission of glimpsing the self within. It is not possible at all. Naidan mano vishadi vaguda chakshuratma pranendriyani cha yathanalamarchishaswaha. Maybe the spark is born of the fire, but the spark will not be able to go back to the fire. Shabdobi bodhaga nishedhatayatma moolam arthoktamaha yadrude na nishedha siddhi. These are all very subtle reasoning. I am wondering how my viewers are able to listen to it with interest and understand the message. Shabdobi. What about words? Words are employed because we have nothing else to employ. The same mind, the same intelligence, the same senses by which I perceive the world, gain all my knowledge, will have to be employed in order to explain this inmost source. There is no way. But when the Shabda, the word is employed, how is it employed? No word says that Atma is like this. No word says that Atma is like this. It is not saying. It always says Atma is not like this. Neti. It is not so. Not so. Not so is what they say. Is it like fire? No. Fire is an external brilliance and hot, perceptible only to the senses. Atma is an inner brilliance where senses cannot penetrate. So it can neither be heat nor be visual brilliance. Then what is that brilliance? That brilliance is different from the external brilliance. Is it something like air? No. Air can be felt by the skin. Its effects can be seen by the eyes. This is a place where senses cannot penetrate. Then what is it? It is not this, not this, not this. Shabdobi bodhaga nishedhataya. By a process of invalidation or negation of whatever you know, our scriptures are trying to reveal it. Bodhaga nishedhataya atmamulam arthoktamaha yadrute na nishedha siddhihi. If it says it is not this, not this, not this, then how can we reach it? Shabdobi bodhaga nishedhataya atmamulam arthoktamaha. Even when they were consciously a knower of truth or the knowers of truth through the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads, etc., when they are employing a description like it is not this, not this, not this, what does it mean? They are pointing to something which is not describable by anything that you know or they know. So even when they are using a process of negation, that negation clearly implies the positive presence of something distinct and different. The word neti does not suggest that there is nothing there. They are all saying that whatever the senses are able to perceive in the world, none of them is that. Whatever the mind can think of is not that. Whatever the intelligence can conceive or argue out, it is not that. Arthoktamaha yadrute na nishedha siddhi. Suppose something is not there, what is the point in saying it is not this, not this, not this? Whatever you are referring to in this world, it is not that, but something entirely different. As I told you about that color-free water. That water is color-free. The mirror also is color-free. The tongue is equally taste-free. That is why it is able to taste everything. So that nishedha is not invalidating everything. It is only negating the object similarities. The subject is different from the object. So all the object distinctions cannot relate to and apply to the subject. The only explanation about the subject is that it is not the object. Is the self the body? No. The body is something sensible, visible, etc. Is it the mind? No. The mind also you can clearly understand. It is an object of knowledge. What about the intelligence? No. What about the ego? Ego is also an object. The world is an external gross object. The mind is a subtle object. The intelligence is still subtler an object. The ego is still subtler. The subject is different from all these objects. So they are clearly specifying something. By negation alone, the source can be hinted. There is nothing to compare it. It is a one of contrast. That is why this negation is employed. So these are some of the words very famous in our scriptural statements. Yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha. Yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha. From where the words recoil along with the mind, that is the self. After all, the mind is issuing from a source. It doesn't have a reverse operation. It only has an outward, external operation. This has to be. It is almost like the river flowing backward. Will it ever occur? It is coming from a height. It can flow down and reach the sea and stop flowing. But it cannot flow back. When you suppose it were to flow back, then it will reach the source and make a huge lake and a sea there. Something similar to that. Yato vacho nivartande. So words are recoiling from there. Aprapya manasasaha, unable to reach there along with the mind. Yasmad vajo nivartande tad vaktum kena shakyade. From where words are returning, how can we explain it? Where are the words and vocabulary to indicate it? So, what is the best way? Dvaida dvaida vivarjide samarase maunam param sammatam. The best will be silence. The best self-realizational diksha is given in silence. The Guru sits in silence. The Shishyas are asked to be silent. And in that mutual silence, there is a communication, a kind of a radiation that takes place from the Guru. That radiation, depending upon the purity, attunement, fondness, intimacy, the sense of refuge the disciple has, depending upon a combination of all these factors, you will find the effect will be felt. Somebody came here from Delhi and I had an initiational sitting for 3 days. Soon after the first day, he seems to have told Ma should herself tell you, but in this situation it is not possible. Ma was telling me something very wonderful. I never had the like of this experience. I am very joyous, very peaceful, very composed, he said. How is it that suddenly this happened? What is the reason? You feel that your mind can only be thoughtful. But listen to me from this Swamiji, the same mind can equally be thought-free. Thought-free. As it is thoughtful, it can also be thought-free. The same legs that are running, they can also be walking. They can walk more slowly and finally they can stand still also. Then what is the means of attaining this if you ask? Here is a beautiful verse from Kathopanishad. What does it say? Yada panchavatishtante jnanani manasa saha buddhischana vicheshtadi tamahu paramam gadim. I happened to read this verse in Calcutta more than 50 years back. 50 years back. And when I read it, I found, what is this? What does it say? Yada panchavatishtante, when pancha means 5. What are the 5? The 5 senses, which are functioning constantly almost in our system. And what do? They go out. Always looking for external contacts. When all the 5 senses remain in their own respective centers, not acting, not interacting, is it sufficient? No. Yada panchavatishtande jnanani. Jnanani pancha, that means all the 5 senses. Manasasaha, along with the mind. Senses are outwardly operating, going outward. The mind is inwardly operating, going again after the sense objects. So along with the mind, panchajnanani avatishtande, they should keep quiet. Buddhischana vicheshtadi. The buddhi, the intelligence also should not dislodge the mind and the senses. So when the senses, mind and intelligence, all the 3 of them remain still, remain in their respective centers, composed, unwavering, still and in a state of poise, tam ahu paramam gadi. That indeed is the supreme spiritual state of beatitude. Have you got the answer now? If no word can explain it and no word can reach it, what is the way of reaching it? Yes, there is a way. Keep quiet. Practice nirvikalpa samadhi and attain it. Is it possible? Yes. When a thought arises within your body, how do you know it? You are not employing any senses. So there is some kind of a knowledge mechanism in us. The consciousness is so sensitive that it can know the thinking process, the intellectual process. It can also know when there is no mental and intellectual process as well. This is what happens. This supreme inner reality cannot be accessed by either the mouth by word, or by the sensory organ, or by the mind, or by the prana, or by the intelligence. Negation is the only way. See what Mundakopanishad speaks about it. Yattadadreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrotram tadapanipādam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam tadavyayam yad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhīrāh. This was also a stunning statement for me when I read it in Calcutta. Yattadadreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam. See how they describe it. Negation. Yad tad adreshyam. It cannot be seen, visible to the senses. Agrahyam. It cannot be grasped by any organ that we have. Agotram. It does not have any distinguishing marks at all. Say when you look at a person, he has a mass, a bodily mass. He has a face, eyes, nose, hair, cheek, many things. So he is visible. So there are distinguishing traits. In identification parade, etc., in police you will find so many people are brought, and the so-called criminal, alleged criminal also is made to stand there, and somebody is asked to identify him from the group, because that person has got identificational marks. Such gotra varnas, gotra lakshanas are not there. Avarnam, there is no color. Achakshushrotram, no eyes, no ears. Achakshushrotram tadapanipādam, no hands, no feet. Are you listening to me? You know, we are speaking about the source of the world, the source of creation. Take your mind away from the visible things. Start imagining, start intellecting. Intelligency. Yattadadreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrotram tadapanipādam. All these are characteristics of living beings visible upon the earth. Don't think that God is a similar person from whom the world is born. He is also a superhuman, a gigantic person. No, not at all. He has given birth to either the space, he has given birth to air, he has given birth to so many other things. How can he be a human? How can he be an elephant? From the water can earth be? From the sky can other things be? Think about it. Nityam, we can only point out to qualities pertaining to that source. Nityam, it is ever present, imperishable. Vibhum, pervading everywhere. It is not somebody who is seated in a corner of the world. He started creating things in the other part. Vibhum, he is present everywhere. If sometimes in the Himalayan surface, Manasarovar, etc., the whole water becomes cold. Every water at every point itself has become cold. Not that it has been made into cold ice by somebody else. So if something has become in this world, in order to become, that source was present right then and there. Vibhum, present everywhere. Sarvagatam, penetrating everything in this world. Susukshmam, extremely subtle. Shall I explain it? My dear viewers, will you be after me or will you lag behind? Susukshmam, what does it mean? There are two words in our vocabulary. One is called Sukshma, another is called Sthula. Sthula means gross. What is gross? That comes within the range of the sensory perception. So we have how many different forms of substance? Say, earth is solid. Water is fluid. Air is gaseous. These are the three different forms of substance. All of them are gross.